Welcome, everybody. Welcome, USANA family. I am extremely honored to be introducing a very special guest tonight. And I think special is actually even an understatement for this person, because if you're joining us live and you may be watching this on replay, you're definitely in for a treat. So the short time that we have with this person, how would you like to learn more strategies and exact steps on how to prospect and recruit more, increase your team's productivity and overall happiness, understand the psychology of how to build a USANA business effectively on social media, and then also create more duplication, and then also just have more joy and impact while you're doing this, while you're building your USANA business. And so tonight's guest is going to completely blow you away. He was the #1 income earner in his network marketing company after losing it all in personal foreclosure. He and his wife has since retired from actively building a network marketing business, and now they run the highest producing online community for network marketers called RankMakers. So they have 15,000 network marketers in that community. He's also made a huge impact with his best-selling books, some of which have included Freakishly Effective Social Media for Network Marketers, and the more recent one, Freakishly Effective Leadership for Network Marketers. I consider him a personal friend, and actually he's been my mentor for the past 2 years. I am extremely honored to introduce Mr. Ray Higdon.
Hey, thanks so much. Man, I'm going to accomplish so much tonight.
So Ray, welcome to tonight. I know there's a lot of people out there right now that are extremely excited to hear from you. But for the people that may not have heard of you or maybe just kind of exposed to your work, can you just kind of share a little bit about how you went from network marketing, building actively, to now transitioning to coaching and training in the profession?
Yeah. And thank you. Thanks for that very nice introduction. And it's awesome to be here. I'm really excited. And so this will be great. So I think it probably makes sense to go back a little bit before that. And so I'm someone that I had worked my way up in the corporate world to a pretty good paying salary. I think most people would say it was a decent salary. But I noticed a couple things. The harder I work, the more they would pay me. So that was nice. But the more they would demand of me. And so I found myself missing, school plays. I found myself having to change, family vacations at the last minute, and just missing out on a lot of the things that were important to me. I looked at my boss and his boss and her boss, and, they were all making more money than me, but they're also more miserable. And so that was my future. And I really didn't like that idea. And so I had some friends from high school that had gotten into real estate here in the state of Florida. And I'm like, man, if they can do it, maybe I can too. And so I left the corporate world, not for network marketing, but actually for real estate. And so 2004, 2005, Florida real estate, what can go wrong? And so I jumped into the fray, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. And, did pretty good there for a while, like many people. And then when the market changed, I realized that I was not prepared for that. And then I got wiped out. And so every single penny I had ever made or saved, gone, just totally gone. And, pulled out all of the money from the IRA that I'd saved since I was 18, sold lots of things just to try to stay afloat. But here I was, dead broke. I had leveraged my personal home. I had leveraged, everything that I could possibly do. And I was over $1 million in debt, chased by bill collectors, went through a divorce. At one point was living on my buddy's couch, and life was not going the way I had planned, for sure. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a buddy that, I don't think he knew what I was going through, because I didn't really share that with people. But I had a buddy that invited me to a home meeting, and I had tried network marketing in the past. And, honestly, I wasn't successful in previous attempts, but I think I was just in a little bit different mindset this time around. And so when I got invited to that home meeting, I'm in foreclosure, I'm dead broke, I'm $1 million in debt, chased by bill collectors. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this thing work. And so I set up a daily routine that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this happen what would ensure that? And so there were three things that I did every single day. And long story short, I did become the number one income earner of that company, was the number one income earner of that company for about 4 years. And then that company merged into another company, which, we stayed with the company and built in that second company for a few years. And then we kind of decided, not that we had intended on building a coaching and training company, but we were building on social media, 10, 11 years ago before most people were, and there was hardly anybody training on it. And so we had companies, we had leaders reaching out to us, wanting to hire us to teach them, to teach their team, to even speak at their company event. I mean, imagine that you're, building your network marketing business, but other companies are wanting to hire you to go and, speak and train at their event. And so in 2016, we made the decision that our passion was really impacting the profession at a profession level. And so we did retire. We did sell our position actually and retire from actively building any company. And ever since then, we've been full-time trainers. Tim mentioned Rank Makers. That's our private community where I go live every single day. I give an action step and a training. And we started tracking in early 2018. In case you're wondering, like, hey, is what I'm going to say, is that going to help me in my company? Because that's a struggle that a lot of people have. They're like, well, he hasn't built in my company. Well, since we started tracking in 2018, we've actually helped network marketers in all different companies bring in over 128,000 new customers, 26,000 new reps, and achieve 6,000 rank advancements. And so every single week, we're having people, we're usually the average is about 1,200 new customers, 300 new reps, and about 60 new rank advancements almost every single week. And, some weeks are higher than others, but what we have been teaching is working. We have people that have achieved their first rank advancements. We have people that have, brought in their first customer after being in the business for years. We like to make things very, very simple, and you'll see that tonight. We're not about complex. We're not about giving you something that sounds really good, but in execution is extremely, hard. We like to keep things simple because we know that's what will duplicate. That's what will actually help you. And so, tonight, I know we're going to talk about prospecting and recruiting using some of your existing tools. And I'm excited about that. I think the two main tools that I'm aware of that you guys have at your disposal is the This Is USANA video, and then the Sell Essentials video. I know This Is USANA kind of gives a overview of product and opportunity, and the Sell Essentials is more product based, or I think 100% product based, if I remember correctly. And so those are great videos and tools for you to be able to use, and that is kind of critical to our training. Sometimes I'm coaching a company that doesn't have any resources, like at all, like no opportunity video, no product video, no nothing. And they've solely relied on face-to-face contacts. And, those companies have to catch up because, with social media, I mean, this is just something that I think you guys are very blessed with. You have some great tools. And so a lot of my training is going to be based around the utilization of those tools. And I relied on tools. This is very, very, very important because I didn't want to do anything that the person I'm recruiting couldn't also do. If I meet with someone one-on-one and I give a great overview of the company and I'm just eloquent and charismatic and have amazing presentation skills, well, they probably don't. And so I don't want to do things that rely on my skill or rely on my charisma, position in life, influence, expertness, credibility. I want to rely on things that anyone, anywhere with any background can actually rely on. And that's the benefit of utilizing tools. And so you'll hear me talk a lot about using your tools because you have them. One of the things that will come out of tonight's training is a lot of people focus on the wrong things, and they focus on how do I make my tool different than what it is. And so I was sharing with some of the guys on here earlier. Some of you may see this is USANA, I believe it's around 14 minutes, and say maybe you think that that's too long of a video, or maybe you think it's too short of a video. I recruited hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people using an hour video, and not that I recommend that or it has to be an hour. But I've recruited a lot of people on social media, people I knew, people I didn't know, using varying lengths of videos. And so I definitely do not think that 14 minutes is too long in any way, shape, or form. If you're getting the feedback that the video is too long, I'm just going to shoot you straight, and I'm going to tell you that your posture is probably too weak. And we'll talk about posture. Posture is something that a few trainers talk about, but I think it's the actually number one essential ingredient to you becoming much better at recruiting. The one common trait that I've seen of people who recruit a lot of people is posture, is that they have posture. And what I define as posture, because I'd never seen an adequate definition of it, is posture is the belief in what you have, regardless of external acceptance or approval. And all of you have posture around different things. For example, let's say that someone came up to you, even your best friend in the world. Someone comes up to you tomorrow and they say, hey man, I was looking on Twitter the other night and it turns out that electricity is a scam. Not for 1 second are you going to be like, oh really? Oh my goodness. Oh man, all this time. You're going to say, I think it works, man. And you're just going to click the light off or something like that. You have posture around electricity. If someone comes up to you and, this is, special to me, we just had our baby boy on Friday. So we got less than a week old in the other room. So you may hear some noise, but actually you're more likely to hear noise from my almost 4-year-old daughter. And so it's, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, your baby's ugly. Like, how do you go into convince mode? Do you say, no, look at their ears and look at this and look at that? No, you're like, get the hell out of here, right? You're not for a second, do you crumble or like, what do I say here, right? Because you're postured. And if someone doesn't like the looks of your kid, then you don't like them. If they're willing to voice that, then it's like, get out of here, man. I don't want to hang with you. And so you're postured around that too. I'm postured around network marketing. So if someone says to me, oh, those things don't work, I say, hey, it may not be a fit for you. I'm not trying to convince them. I'm not trying to, give them all this time and try to turn them around. I mean, if I'm wanting to turn them around, I'm wanting to turn them around so that they go away. I'm not trying to convince them. And convincing is one of the most exhausting exercises you will ever participate in. I suggest against convincing, because not only does it typically not work, but it's exhausting. I mean, I feel if I have to convince someone of something, I feel like I got to take a shower. I just feel grimy and I feel exhausted and just like tired. I don't want to convince anyone of anything. If someone's open to taking a look, awesome. If they're not, that's okay too. And my story, I mentioned that there were 3 things that I did every single day. The first thing was I had read a book called Go for No. And, in that book, it just explains how to get over your fear of rejection and your reaction to rejection. I see network marketers, entrepreneurs all day long that they get some nasty gram or they get some hater or troll or someone that's negative to them and they just crumble like a cracker. And so like, how do you alter your reaction to rejection? I assure you, I've had plenty of haters, plenty of trolls, plenty of nastiness, plenty of things that they should have said behind my back, but they said to my face. And that's okay. It's just not a big deal. And so I read this book called Go for No, and it says to set a no goal. And I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. That made sense to me, to stop being afraid of getting a no and just like collect them, right? Just collect them like, football cards or something like that. Just collect them. And so I set a goal that I was going to get 20 no's a day, every day before my head hit the pillow. And that was one of the key elements that helped me become the #1 income earner in that company. I wasn't the first. I wasn't the master distributor. I wasn't given a downline. I mean, I was placed in a spot where I had to do all the work, and that's what I did. And so one of the elements was go for no. Now I've shared that story for 10, 11 years, and the authors of that book heard that story and said, man, we love your story. We got to do a book together. And so we actually did a book together. I co-authored a book with those authors called Go for No for Network Marketing, which Tim has right over there. But it's Go for No for Network Marketing. And the 20 no's a day was something that was very key. The second thing was and I'm not saying you have to, I'm just telling you what I did. I did a video a day. And so I started doing a video a day where I would teach on something either I was learning or something that was, that was on my mind that I wanted to, hopefully attract more people to me. And I started doing a video a day because I dreamt of a day where people would reach out to me versus me have to do all the reach out. And, I know it'll sound weird and maybe superhuman or something, but on July 15th of 2019, which is a month ago, I celebrated my 10th year of doing a video a day. And I know that's kind of weird. I see that someone asked, how do you stay so motivated and consistent? There's a quote out there that I really love by the Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, and he says, pain pushes you until a vision pulls you. And so up until for probably a good 2 years, pain had been pushing me. I was depressed. I was, just kind of lost. I wasn't productive at all. I didn't add value to any marketplace, and I wasn't doing anything that was going to progress me farther in life. In fact, all of my habits were quite destructive and not going to help anyone or the world or myself or my family. And so pain was pushing me. When a vision starts to pull you of who you want to be, who do you want to become, and that vision can expand. My vision of who I want to become is a ruthless dictator. It doesn't care if I don't feel good. It doesn't care if it's a rainy day. It doesn't care if my tummy's sick. It just doesn't care. I have to do the things that I owe myself. And there's something I talked about this morning in Rankmakers is if you want to be your own boss, be an actual boss. I report to myself. I owe myself 200 push-ups every day. I owe myself 2.5 miles running. I owe myself doing my video inside of Rankmakers. I owe myself to do the communication things that we do to help spread the word and impact more people. I owe those things. And my boss doesn't care if I don't feel like it. That's not even part of the equation, right? It's not on the checklist. Did you feel like it? That's not even there. Doesn't care. Who cares? And so if you lack consistency, you lack a vision of who you want to become, because when you create that vision of who you want to become, you cannot be stopped. And there's a Rolling Stones song, "Wild Horses," right? Wild horses couldn't drag me away, and that's a vision. That's a vision that will not stop. So who do you want to become? Do you want to become the person that impacts abused women all over the world? Are you the person that wants to build schools in Guatemala? Are you the person that wants to alter the face of disabled veterans and how they get represented in your country? Then you need to show up with an actual vision, and then you need to execute on a daily basis to push toward that vision, whether you feel like it or not. Now, if you lack that vision, then you're going to consistently struggle with consistency. We can tell you what to do, but that's going to be up to you. I wish I could hire my personal trainer to do my sit-ups for me. That would be awesome. If I could just get a six-pack or just, hey man, do a couple hundred more, like that would be amazing. But you have to do the work, and you have to do it on the days that you don't want to. And there are many days that I don't feel like doing the work, but that doesn't matter. I do the work. And so, doing the work. The third thing, by the way, was personal development, which has altered over the years. At first it was free YouTube videos. It was whatever I could get my hands on. And now it's more, I hire a lot of different coaches. Over the last few years, I've had 2 coaches that had built from scratch, one 150 million a year company, one 250 million a year company. And I've hired them to get, personal coaching on our growth and scaling. And so now my personal development is more that sort of thing. But let's get into the prospecting and recruiting. And so you're going to hear some things that you may not have heard before. If if you don't follow our stuff, if you haven't seen any of our training. And I'll tell you, there's always the filter that I always have to use is this duplicatable? And what I specifically mean by that is, can the person that left 4th grade, can they do what I'm about to teach? Because if they cannot, if I'm teaching you that you have to be credible, expert, influencer, have a great social media brand, have your own podcast, blog, etc., then, okay, that can work. There are ways you can make that work, but it's a little bit more complicated, and we would have to be a longer discussion. But not relying on your influence, but relying on your activity and how you utilize tools. And that's just what's so important. And so I'm going to give you a few suggestions. So if you're on here and you have respect and rapport with your warm market, your friends and family members, people that know you, if they look up to you and they, if you called up someone and said, hey, I'm doing this thing, you want to do it with me? And they'd say, sure, what is it, man? If you have that kind of rapport and respect from others, then you are an influential person, and you are less than 9% of any company. You're probably less than 5% of any company. And just realize that, because a lot of times an influencer, they take what works for them and they teach it to their whole team. And it's really confusing, because what they do won't work for most people. And I remember being at a company event, not your company, a different company event. And this guy gets up on stage, a very successful, leader. He gets up on stage and he says, I recruited the first 60 people I talked to, and this is what I said. And you could see the, people are getting carpal tunnel. You just see pencil lead flying and people going nuts because they think it's in what he said. It's not in what he said. It's in who he was. You don't bring in 60 of 60 without being massively influential, without having already rapport. It's not a magical script. He could have said anything. Hey, I'm doing this thing, you want to do it? And he probably would have got 60 for 60. Because if you're like the mayor of your town, then getting sales is not that difficult. But how does that apply to the person who doesn't have influence? It doesn't. And that's where we get into what we call differentiation, understanding that people are at different areas of their life and have different relationships. We do not train for, hey, this will work if you're an influencer, because that's only a small percentage of any company or any organization. We teach things that anyone, anywhere could use with any background. And so if you are influential, then pretty much anything will work. My advice to you is don't prejudge. Don't prejudge, because you have people that that you think are too, high net worth or too cool for school, or they don't want to do your deal because they're above such things. And I'm going to tell you, you're wrong, because the people that are of high net worth and the people that you think may be too good, too cool for school, they often understand residual income and they like it, but they also know that there's a cost to create residual income. You either have to buy an apartment complex, or you have to have a large amount of money in the bank, or you have to buy laundromats or ATM machines, or things like that have a very high risk, high overhead. Well, you don't have those things in network marketing. We call network marketing the lowest risk, lowest overhead way for the average ordinary person to start a business. And so my advice would be, just don't prejudge. And I'll give you a couple examples. We had a guy in our team. I don't know exactly, but my guess would be probably worth about $100 million. He is one of the most respected orthopedic surgeons in the country. All over, every magazine has had him featured, and he's the dude. Well, he liked the idea of residual income because he ain't having to cut anyone. He's not having to go report in and do the surgery, right? Because a lot of times people, they think of active income like, oh, that's the cashier, the waitress, the stewardess, or flight attendant or whatever. Well, it's also lawyers. It's also, judges. It's also surgeons. It's doctors. It's attorneys. They're punching the clock too. They're trading dollars for hours too. Most of them, unless it's in investments, they would respect residual income as well. And so if you're an influencer, I would suggest just don't prejudge. Don't prejudge. Ask everyone. And there's two components of any kind of ask. And I'm going to give you a few different scenarios here, but there's two components of any kind of ask. And the ask is, one, see if they are open, and two, give them an out. Okay. So what that would look like is, hey, if you're reaching out to an influencer or something like that, you might say something like, hey, I really respect what you do. You're amazing at what you do. And I'm just curious, I'm doing this thing. It's in health and wellness. I think you might like it. Would you be open to taking a look at it? And if not, no big deal. Now, a lot of people won't use what we call an out, which is, hey, not if not, no big deal. But that actually grants you power. It grants you power when you're not saying things like ground floor, no brainer, fantastic opportunity. When you're not saying those things and you're just saying, hey, are you open, not interested? Because open is a more powerful word. Okay. There are people that, they may not be interested, but they don't want to not be open, because not open doesn't feel good, right? It seems narrow-minded. And so use the word open, not interested. So would you be open to take a look at what it is that I'm doing? If not, no big deal. The if not, no big deal is actually, it grants you a lot of power. That's something that actually helps you. And so that's a component of any kind of reach out, whether you're an influencer, whether you're not, doesn't matter. Let's go the flip side. What if you're someone who has tried network marketing 152 times and never had any success, and your friends, family members literally don't respect you anymore? Let's be honest, that's a percentage. By the way, there's a higher percentage of that individual than there are influencers. Yet if you notice, most training is catered to influencers. There's actually more. You would actually duplicate faster if you taught that crowd because there's more of them. There's probably about 20% in any organization, barring something different or weird, but probably about 20% they have what I would call a burnt market, right? It's not warm anymore. It's just like burnt. And so how you know that you have a burnt market is they're immune to your money message. So you could go to them and say, hey, if you hand me that $5 bill in your hand, I'll hand you this 20. And they'll say, no, I'm good. No, thanks, bro. Right? They do not believe anything that you have to say when it comes to making money or anything about money. And so it's not enough for you just lead with the product, because if they've seen you do a whole bunch of these different opportunities, then they're going to think, oh, this is just a ruse to try to get me in the business. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get me exposed to the product, and then I'll make them some money, right? That's how they're thinking, because they're cynical, they're skeptical because of your past efforts. Okay? And this is warm market, people that know you. And so with burnt market, people that, they just don't believe you. They don't think you're ever going to make it. You just can't approach them with money. You have to deflect the business. And so what that would look like as far as an approach would be, you would say, hey, I'm doing this thing and I know it's not a fit for you. I know it absolutely is not the kind of business that you would ever do at all, but I think you might actually like the product. And here's why. And maybe you share a testimonial, brief, or maybe you share, hey, it helps with blank, 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 right? And you just focus on the product in your words. Now, if I'm doing that approach, I personally, even though I'm saying product, I would want to send them the This is USANA video, because I've had a lot of people that we've trained over the years that I've taught that right there. And they've told me, Ray, you don't understand. My people will never buy anything. I'm like, okay, go to them with this approach. I have never had someone go to at least 20 people that they would swear on a stack of Bibles would never buy anything and not get at least one customer. Okay, now that's a pretty bold little guarantee there. And so, but this is the exact way. They would say, hey, I'm doing this thing. I know it's not a fit for you. I know it's not your kind of business. Now, they haven't heard that language. So to them, it's like, this is a little different. It's not no brainer. It's not ground floor. It's not a fantastic opportunity. I'm not going to kill it, make 10,000 a month in no time, right? It's none of those things. It's something I shouldn't do, right? And so it messes with them a little bit. It gets them a little curious, and they're more likely to be contrarian to whatever you suggest. So if you say, hey, make sure you take the left, they're going to purposely turn right. And so when you say, I know this isn't a fit for you, it's a little different, but I think you may like the product. This video does a good job of explaining if this would be a fit for you or not. As far as the product, as I think you might actually like the product. Now, what's cool about this is I would want to use a video in that scenario that did talk a little bit about the business just to see. And I've had people come back to me. I've had our students report back in and say, people came back to them and said, hey, I'm a little confused. Why wouldn't I do this as a business? And that's where you got to kind of put on your acting face, and you're like, geez, I never thought about that. I just assumed, but I guess you could, right? And so what happened there is you got a set of curious eyes to look at that video. And if there's something in their life that they're trying to solve, well, you're a problem solver. And that's another concept that you need to really get is you're the prize, not them. They're not the prize. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people out there that they have problems, but no solutions. That used to be me. I mean, I was in a corporate job, working, making decent money, but I wanted to spend more time with my kids and make more money. And that wasn't in the org chart. I couldn't go to HR and ask for, hey, can I make more money, but show up here less? That wasn't a possibility. So I had problems, no solutions. And you need to understand that as a network marketer, you have solutions. Now, some people may not apply the solution. They may not run with a solution, but it is a solution. It is something that could help someone with time freedom, with their health and wellness. A lot of people are struggling with that, obviously. And so this is something that could really help people, and you have to see it that way. And so that would be the burnt market approach. And when it comes to, and if you feel that your friends and family members just have zero interest in anything that you do, then you're probably going to want to learn cold market. And cold market are strangers, people that you do not know. And this is something that, some people are, really nervy Nelly about this. And they're just like, ooh, cold market. Well, here's the problem. Especially influencers, you need to listen to this part. So maybe you're on here and you have never had to talk to a stranger just because you got rapport with people. They see you coming, they're like, Norm, right? Like, so, you're shucking and jiving with people. People like you, you got rapport, they respect you, they look up to you, they join your team, no problem. Well, you're going to have a percentage of your team not have that ability. And not have that. So if you go to people with a burnt market and say, hey, you can only do warm market, don't you dare do cold, then you're going to have people leave that might have stayed had you opened it up a little bit. And so here we'll talk about cold market. So I want to stress that using these kind of strategies is how my wife at the age of 21 built a $10,000 a month income 100% from Facebook. Strangers. Her friends did not, they wanted to party. They wanted shots and they wanted to party. They didn't want to do any kind of business. Why would we do that? They wanted to party. She wanted to build a business. So she recruited financial planners. She recruited realtors. She recruited people in insurance. She recruited a lot of professionals using these kind of cold market strategies, as did I. I recruited a lot of internet marketers. I recruited a lot of real estate investors, a lot of speakers, a lot of authors. And so it's something that we have a real passion for this because your cold market is unlimited. There's an unlimited number. Now, this does not mean that I'm saying don't reach out to warm market. I'm saying it's an option. And it's just like, some people prefer to do home meetings. Home meetings still work. They never stopped working. They're an option. They're not the only way. I have people that built humongous organizations 100% through face-to-face or home meetings, but I also have a whole bunch of people that built all behind their keyboard. And so both are options. I'm not saying one's bad, one's good. They're just, you got a lot more options than you did decades and decades and decades ago. And so One of the problems that has crept up over the years is the confusion of how to reach out to people on social media that you don't know. And there's and I've kind of broken this down because I when I have something that works and is simple, I try to break it. And I'm like, what's the flaw in this? Like, when won't this work? And so we just created a way that is ridiculously simple and it works. But there are some limitations, and I'll share those with you. So most people will tell you, people got to know, like, and trust you. They'll tell you that you got to build rapport. And the problem is that is not a simple concept. It is not simple to say, hey, go build rapport. What does that mean? How many messages do I send? At what point do I transition? And, how do I not appear shady or creepy? And ask yourself, regardless of whatever you've heard in the past or whatever you've been trained on, ask yourself this question. If someone you don't know reaches out to you and says, hey, you have a beautiful family, what is it that you do? Or something like that, okay? What's your reaction? Is it, oh my goodness, someone's messaging me. Wow, this is neat. Oh, I'm doing just fine, thank you, right? Or is it, what do you want? Like, do you ever think that way? So like when I get a message and it's like, hey, you have a beautiful family, and I don't know them, I'm like, thank you. What do you want? What do you want? And I see someone's asking, would it be okay to use the word willing instead of open? So I want to point out the psychological difference there, okay? Would you be willing to change your life with something amazing? Does that sound right? It sounds a little off, doesn't it? Because the word willing is me. So if I say, would you be willing, okay? Willing means I benefit. So if I say, would you be willing to pay my car bill? That makes sense. See how that flows? Would you be willing to buy me dinner tonight? That just flows. It just sounds good. Would you be willing to make $1 million? That doesn't sound right. You know what I'm saying? Like it's incongruence. Like that doesn't sound right to me, because willing is about me. It's I'm gaining, I'm benefiting. And this is why, like if you're talking to someone and let's say that you're offline, I'll give you a very similar scenario here. So if I'm talking to someone offline and I want to get their information and follow up with them, I'm gonna give you a little trick. It's the same psychology as what I just went over as far as willing being me, okay? So if I go to them and I say, hey, can I get your information and I'll follow up with you? So can I that means I'm benefiting. Little tweak. See, I won't say can I, I'll say, tell you what, I gotta run, but let me get your information. I promise I'll follow up with you. I promise. Now, would I ever say, I promise I'll send you my invoice? See how that doesn't make sense? It's kind of like the willing thing. Are you willing to change your life and look fantastic and have major energy, right? It doesn't go, because willing's about me, okay? Could I say, I promise I'll bring you a cherry pie? That flows. It's about them. And so I want to use words that are more about them, of their benefit. And open actually accomplishes that. So I hope that helps. A little psychology lesson there. And so I want to make it really simple. And I find that building rapport is just not simple. So here's the two most common scenarios. If you are someone that says, hey, go build rapport, okay? They got to know, like, and trust you, go build rapport. And at some point, the mood will strike you to bring up the business or bring up the product or whatever. So a lot of people just naturally feel, because it is feel that that's shady. You mean that I'm going to compliment them, and then, I'm going to talk about family, occupation, recreation, and then at some point I'm going to bring up my thing I have for sale that I've been wanting to sell this entire time. I don't feel that great about it, so they won't do anything. And that's a very large chunk of people in your organization. There's the second type that they're like, you know what, I really want to make this thing work. And so they'll do it, but they'll never actually ask the question. And so they have all these people that it's like, oh, that's a great strawberry pie recipe. Oh, it looks like Timmy had a good job. Like they're exhausted. They're exhausted of keeping notes on who has a Himalayan cat and who plays softball and who's in a bowling league and who likes, Agatha Christie, right? So they're just exhausted. They're like, oh, really pretty, right? Nice hairdo today. What'd you change, right? They're just exhausted and they're not making any money at all. And the problem that they're not catching on to is whatever it is that you do with a prospect, they think they have to do. That's a major problem. Because are most network marketers they just come in full time? They got all the time in the world. I can make money whenever, doesn't matter. If it takes a couple of years, no big deal. No, most network marketers are extremely part-time and they don't have forever to make money. So we need a way to get to the point sooner without it being so complex, without it being so sophisticated and difficult. And I say all of this, but I also say if you're someone that you are successfully building rapport and making sales and getting recruits, definitely do that. Do not stop. Keep doing it. I don't care if you use our method or not. I want you to produce because I know that you guys have amazing products. I know that you have an amazing company, an amazing organization, amazing culture. I know that you would impact more people if they were only in your organization. So I am addicted to your production. I want you to crush it. And if you do that through building rapport, through a different method, fantastic. Not a big deal. But I just want to paint this scenario. Whatever you do with a prospect, they are going to think they have to do. So if you tiptoe through the tulips for 6 months and ask about little Timmy playing softball and the apple pie recipe, and then you pop the question, it's very likely one of two things will happen, okay? Number one, they say, oh my God, this is what you have to do to build a business? You have to butter someone up for 6 months? Good Lord, do you make any money at all? Okay? Or number two, they'll say, wait a minute, were you just buttering me up this whole time just to pitch me your thing? Shady. It's usually not a great scenario. Now, again, I admit there are people that are good chit chatters. They're great at small talk. I'm not one of them actually, but people good at chit chat, good at, charisma, good at, getting to the point at the perfect angle. And they're successful with building rapport. Most of their team is not. And so here's what we suggest. And I give you the one warning. We do not teach how to recruit other network marketers because I would never run a how to date married women, workshop. That's not me. I don't like it. I don't like when trainers teach network marketers, here's how you go and get, those other network marketers from that company over there. I'm not a fan of that. I think that this profession is an amazing profession that can impact more lives than possibly any other profession. But if we are cannibalistic, if we just eat each other, if we just bash each other, if we're just, how do I steal the next person from the last person? And if you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. And so, it's funny to me when I see people that I know engage in this stuff and then they cry because someone, stole some of their team. It's like, well, didn't you just do that? Like, that's like how you operate, isn't it? I mean, if you were able to snag someone from somewhere, someone else is going to be able to snag them too. So what I teach in this context of how to reach out to cold market does not work with network marketers. They're going to chastise you. They're going to say, oh, you got to build rapport first. They're probably not getting any results, by the way, but they adore the theory of building rapport because it sounds better. And so here's the thing. And I want you, as I say this, I want to ask you this, okay? Take yourself out of the network marketing mind, right? You've been taught how to win friends and influence people. You've been taught these different things, which I want to point out. Every one of those books written before social media, okay? If I'm at a cocktail party and I ask, hey, what is it that you do? That's quite natural. It's quite natural because they're there, I'm there. We can have a conversation. We can chit chat. We can have small talk. I can build rapport with them. They're right there. But when someone's on social media And you, some stranger that they don't know, sitting on their couch, got Cheeto stains on your shirt, they don't know you at all. Why are you reaching out to me? And so when a stranger reaches out to you, you're wondering two things at least, okay? Well, three things, okay? Do I know you? That's the first thing. Like, do I know this person? Do you know a Tim, honey? Do you know a Tim? Yeah, Tim, he's awesome. Okay, great. Do I know them? Why me? Why are they reaching out to me? There's billions on Facebook. Why are they reaching out to me? And number three, what do you want? That's what you're wondering. And so despite us all being aware that that's what we wonder, the act of attempting to build rapport is actually very, very difficult when it comes to social media. And again, if you get results from it, keep doing it. So take yourself out of all the stuff that you've learned, okay? You're just a normal, everyday person, and someone reaches out to you and says this, and they say, hey, remember the three? Do I know this person? Why me? What do they want? Okay, we're going to solve that in the first message. And I'm going to share this with you. Here we go. So let's say I reach out to you and you're in whatever, Sacramento, California. So I reach out to you and I say, hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're in Sacramento. I'm looking to expand my business in Sacramento. Would you be open to taking a look at what I'm doing? If not, no big deal. Now, I just want to ask you a real simple question. Not, would you say yes or no, right? You may not, right? Does that offend you? Does a part of you appreciate that I solved the three problems that you would have with most cold messages? I said, we don't know each other. Very straightforward. I'm not trying to fool you. I'm not trying to make you think, yeah, we met at Uncle Harry's wedding, right? I'm not trying to fool you. I'm being very straightforward with you. I'm not being shady. I'm not trying to butter you up. I'm telling you exactly, hey, we don't know each other. I see that you're in Sacramento. I'm looking to expand there. Would you be able to take a look at what it is that I'm doing? I'm telling you the three things right away, okay? Now, I want to point out some things because some people would hear that and think, oh, spam, spammer, just spamming, sir spam a lot, Spamela Anderson, right? They would say that because they don't actually understand the definition of spam, okay? So spam is, in this context, is assuming the position of the prospect without any evidence. I'm gonna say that again because that's kind of a heavy statement. Assuming the position of the prospect without any evidence. Did I ask them to join? I didn't ask them to join. Did I ask them to purchase something? Did I drop a link? Did I build it up and say that it's a ground floor opportunity, amazing, fantastic, they're going to make $1 million? I didn't do any of that. I asked if they were open to taking a look, just taking a look. And I even told them, if you're not open to taking a look, totally cool, no problem. They know exactly why I'm reaching out to them. They know exactly what I'm after. There's no question. Now, will people say no? Of course some people are going to say no. No question. Let me ask you this. What would you prefer? Would you prefer to butter someone up for 6 months, send them all kinds of different messages on how great their hat is today or whatever, and then be told to no, or be accused of being shady, or that? Or would you rather get it like right away? Would you rather like hear a no like instantly? And oh, by the way, if you're someone that likes to build rapport, do you know when it's easiest to build rapport? After they know what you want. Mm-hmm. After they know what you're after. So I've had people where I sent that message, hey, I see you're in Topeka, Kansas. I know we don't know each other. I'm looking to expand in your area. Would you be open to take a look at what I'm doing? If not, no big deal. And they say, no, thanks. I'm doing other things. I say, cool, no problem. How long you lived in Topeka? See, I'm able to build rapport afterwards very easily with no resistance. And I've had it where I've done that sort of thing. They still know what I was after. They still know that I popped that question on them, right? And I've had people come back to me and say, hey, man, we've been talking for a little bit. And when we first did this, you brought something about a business. Like, what was that all about? They came back to me. But if I do it the other way, where I'm just building rapport for however X number of days, months, weeks, whatever, then I fall into this is, getting kind of weird. And all of a sudden he hits me with some question about a product business or whatever. And so
Hey, Ray,
again, I want to say, oh, go ahead, Tim. You have something.
sorry, I don't want to interject, but Robin Thomas actually brought up a really good point, and she asks, "Is there kind of like a happy median in between where, like, because she kind of mentioned that she had an experience where somebody asked her if she was open to like another business opportunity on LinkedIn, and then at that point, it just made her feel like she didn't want anything to do with them. So, is there like a happy median where
it's not designed for network marketers? Network marketers, unfortunately, love to bash each other. And so this is not designed for network marketers. You should not use this script on network marketers. And I don't like recruiting other network marketers. I don't like teaching that. I don't create scripts around that. I want to ask yourself, if you're a mechanic in Tuscaloosa, if you're a substitute teacher in Huntsville, Alabama, if you're a soccer coach in Washington, D.C., does this offend you? See, only a network marketer gets offended by this, or possibly an internet marketer, right? Someone in marketing may not like this approach. And so that's not who we're not trying to use this to reach out to that tiny percentage of the population. I want to use it on all the rest. And so as far as as far as happy medium, it just depends how much duplication you want. And so if I want my entire team to have a simple process no matter what, then I teach them this. I tell them, if they'd like to build rapport, go for it, right? If you have a way that's working great for you, then go for it. And I just want to share, and I want to point out, these are people from all different companies. This is not from a company training. This is not from anything. I just want to really, really quickly point out some things. So, and I won't say their full name here, but I took some screenshots. This was from 2 days ago. So 2 days ago, there was like a thread in RankMakers of people saying how much results they're getting from the script. So Patrick says, Ray Higdon's scripts are great. I use them on different social media platforms to become the #1 recruiter in my company. I posted that one. That's actually on my profile. John, he says, before I joined RankMakers, I was being told by the leaders in my company how important it was to build rapport when building a team. I struggled with this approach big time. My first day in RankMakers, I watched the training on how to do basically this, and a huge eye opener. I've taken what I've learned from that training, and I've managed to 10x my customer base and triple my team size. Holly, in the past, I'd spend months trying to build rapport to muster up the courage to ask, are you open? With Ray's suggestions, I now reach out to more people more often. I had 2 cold contacts just this week via LinkedIn. Someone mentioned LinkedIn. Tell me how refreshing my approach was and that they want to check out what they have. Before, nothing but crickets. And so I won't go on because we don't have enough time, but we have taken people that have been so frustrated with the rapport building scenario that are actually, one, doing stuff, right? Which that's a major win, but actually getting results. But it will not work for people in network marketing, which I personally think is kind of a win. It will teach you to avoid them, because as soon as you're chastised, look at their profile, network marketer, because regulars don't do that. They don't like, what are they offended by? Are they offended that you said it's okay if they don't want to take a look? Like, what exactly is offensive about it? But only a network marketer, because they've been trained in other ways and they think that way is inferior, although that way has gotten a lot of people some results. And so that would be my response to that. And so one question was, hey, how do you are you friend requesting them? I'm not friend requesting them, okay? And I know that the immediate reaction to that one is, well, then how are they gonna see your message? So how I've done that, and by the way, I see messages every single day from non-friends, every day. I see the little folder, little ding, thing pops up. But how I manage that is, if I send a message to a non-friend, first of all, I don't know if I want to be their friend. And second of all, I think it's kind of shady. If my only purpose is truly to get them to either join with me or buy my product or whatever, I think it's kind of shady to friend them, because they may take that as a very different energy than, oh, this person wants to prospect me, right? I just think it's a little shady. The only reason you're doing that is to increase your chances of them seeing your message, which is kind of selfish and shady in my opinion. So I would drop a comment on one of their, hey, I sent you a little message, we're not friends, I'm not sure if you'll see it or not, appreciate you, I'll say something like that on one of their, either their profile picture or one of the things that they posted, just to give them a heads up, which will increase their chances of them taking a look at it. It will never be 100%, but 100% will never respond to you, no matter what you say. There are people that just aren't that active on social media, or they don't see any of their messages. So no one's going to respond 100% there. And so, but what you will do is you can do this much faster. It is very straightforward. There's nothing to really figure out. You can, some people will say, well, what if they don't have location? You can interchange occupation and location. You could say, hey, I see that you're a chiropractor. We work with a lot of chiropractors. Would you be able to take a look at blah, blah, blah? It at least says, why them? Why are you reaching out to them? What do you want? Do you know each other? You answer all of that. And you can always build rapport after. If someone responds negatively, which you're going to get some of that. Now, if someone is a network marketer and they just chastise, dude, this isn't their approach, you should build rapport because that's what everyone has told me. Then you say, cool, no problem. Hey, sorry to offend you. Best of luck to you. Know that they're a network marketer and it's okay. Move on. Okay. Do not try to convince them. Don't say, oh my goodness, maybe this is the terrible thing to do, because you prospected a network marketer. It'd be like, if I'm hunting with a wiffle ball bat and I'm hunting grizzly bears, maybe this doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to use the wrong approach and the right approach on the wrong type of or category of person. That doesn't mean that the approach is bad. It means that the combination is bad. So don't use this on other network marketers, because they're going to chastise you. And keep in mind, the people that chastise you, they don't have many results either, because people with results don't take the time to do that. Like, if someone sends me a terrible thing, I'm just like, all right, no thanks, right? I'm busy. I got stuff to do. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, let me bash you. Like, it's just silly. And so do not use it on marketers. Don't use it on network marketers, because that's not what it's designed for. It's just not. So if they're really nasty, like, hey, sorry to offend you, best of luck to you. Boom, move on. Don't worry about it. If they just say no, say, cool, no problem. Hey, how long you been in Topeka? How'd you get into being a chiropractor? Build some rapport now. Now you're in safe land, because there's no question about what you're after. You're not in that weird, shady, creeping through, should I say this or not say this? You've already told them. And a lot of times you'll come back and have people, say to you, hey man, you mentioned something earlier on. What if they're positive? So if they say, well, what is it? Or how does this work? Or, tell me more about that. I'm going to say, listen, I have a brief video that does a much better job than I could do explaining how it works. If you'd like, I'd be happy to send that to you. Okay. Now I will not reply. This is very important. All these little tweaks, because I've seen people that say, Ray, dude, I'm following your scripts, and they send a link in the first message. Never do that. Don't do that. That is not going to work. Or someone says, well, what's this about? And they say, watch this. That's not going to work either, because this is permission marketing, right? And so if spam is assuming the position of the prospect without any evidence, and let me just give you an example. Okay, this is the example I use. Sorry, hopefully no one's offended. But if a single guy goes up to the girl at the hotel bar and says, hey, I got a room upstairs. Well, that's spamming. They're assuming the position of the prospect without any evidence, right? Now, I'm not saying spamming never works, but that is spam. They're assuming that this person is just, down, right? But if they went to that same scenario, single guy goes to the girl at the hotel bar and says, hey, are you here with anyone? May I buy you a drink? See, that's permission, okay? That's me seeing, are you open? And they may say yes, they may say no, but it's not spam. And so don't assume the position of your prospect without any evidence. And so if they say, hey, what's this about? I'm going to say, hey, I got a video, does a much better job than I could do, explain it to you. It'll tell you if it's a fit for you or not. I'm happy to send it to you. If you'd like, let me know. Now, if they say yes, I say, cool, there you go. How soon can you watch this? I don't ask when, and I don't just send it and I just hope that they follow up with me. I assume they will never in a million years follow up with me. I'm going to assume I have to take control, because that's reality. And how I learned this was actually in real estate. So I remember being at a learning annex, I don't know if they do these anymore, but there was a learning annex, and like Tony Robbins was there, a whole bunch of big speakers were there, and they had these booths. Now, I had priced out a booth, and a booth at the learning annex during that time when real estate was really hot, $5,000, you would get a booth like this, and you could barely turn, your shoulders would rub the side of it. Like it was $5,000 to have a tiny booth. There were booths in there that were huge. There were probably $50,000 for a booth. All of them had one thing in common. They had a little fishbowl, or they had some kind of box or something where you put your business card in. Now, why would they do that? Well, because they spent all this money, and so that they get some leads and they follow up those leads and hopefully make some sales, right? I put my business card in every one of them. No one called. No one, not one person called. And so that made me realize, I'm like, wow, people in general just don't follow up at all. And even when they pay for this, they're paying for these leads. $5,000, $10,000, $30,000, $50,000, doesn't matter the amount, they don't follow up. So I'm gonna assume this prospect is not going to follow up ever. I'm not gonna wait by phone, hello, is that Tim? No, right? They're not gonna follow up. I have to follow up. And so when I say, how soon can you watch the video? And they say, oh, I'm pretty busy, but I can watch it at 3 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty slammed too, but I'll tell you what, I can reach back out to you 3:35. Will you have watched the video? Okay, I'm going to set a time where I'm going to reach out to them. Now, this is where we enter a different realm. Okay, so this is kind of phase 2. So phase 1 is, what do we do up until the introduction of that video? Okay, now we're into phase 2. So we have some, the people that said no, they're still phase 1. We'll dink and dunk with them. We can build rapport with them if you want, or whatever. Phase 2, we've successfully sent the video. Okay, so I'm gonna send them. Now, I will tell you, I prefer to get on the phone. I prefer to, even on social media, I prefer to get on the phone. I think you're gonna lose 10 to 20% of your sales if you don't get on the phone. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make sales. There are people that have made lots and lots of sales on social media without getting on the phone, but they still would have made more if they got on the phone. I want to hear their tonality. I want to hear their pauses. I want to hear their sighs. I want to be able to hear what's going on in their voice, which you think you can through voice message, but you can't, because voice message is one way. I can record it whenever the hell I want. I can think about it for 20 minutes and and you think it's an immediate reaction. I thought about it. That's different than when it's two-way communication. I can hear, is there a pause? Are they thinking about it? Are they groaning? Are they I can pick up on that information. So I prefer to get on the phone. Best way that I found, because they're not going to call you ever, is I will say something like this. I'll say, hey, by the way, I'd love to hop on the phone just to make sure, before you move forward, I'd love to hop on the phone with you, make sure this thing's a fit for you. So here's my number. What's yours? So I can put it in my phone just in case you call. Now, what won't happen is them calling. They will never call, ever, the rest of your life. You will never receive that call. But what will I do? But what will they do? They'll send their phone number. Like they're going to call, right? Why? Because that's a smaller commitment. That it doesn't mean anything. It's just like, oh, sure, like I'm going to call. They ain't never going to call. But when they send that number, I'm going to wait till the agreed upon time, 3:35, and I'm going to call and say, oh, hey, is this Tina? I missed a call, and you know what? I didn't know. Was that you calling? Did you watch the video? Now, here's how you handle that, okay? So if they didn't watch the video, can you tell that I've done this in the real world hundreds and hundreds of times? I know every single scenario you are ever going to run into. I'm just letting you know. And so let's say we communicate through Messenger or on the phone, and I say, cool, hey, did you watch the video? If they say no, what do you do? What do you do? You say, well, you said you'd watch the video. How come you didn't? Right? That's what most amateurs would do, is they would wag their finger at them like that gets sales, right? They bring out the rolling pin, right? No, you don't nag them to death. You don't wag your finger at them. You just say, you have to remain postured. And so if someone says, oh man, I had to pressure wash the aquarium, I had to perm my hair, I had to whatever, right? I had to wind the grandfather clock or whatever they come up with. I'm going to say, cool, no problem. I just got to prioritize my time. I got some people that did watch the video. I hope you understand, but I can reach out to you maybe next week. That's posture. That's actually your first example of posture, is that you aren't the prize. I'm the price, okay? So you, the network marketer, is the prize. And even if you're not busy, you need to be busy. And let me give you an example. So if someone says, Ray, man, you got to go to this chiropractor. He is literally the greatest chiropractor. He just literally touches he touches your spine and right, you just bust out. It's amazing, right? And so like someone tells me this amazing chiropractor. Let's say I call the chiropractor and I say, hey, I hear that the chiropractor is amazing, and when can I get an appointment? And what if the person on the other end said, well, just come on in. Well, like you mean like tomorrow? Oh, we got time today. You want to swing on in? I'm going to wonder, are they that good? Right? I'm going to wonder. But what if he did something different? What if he or she, right? What if they said, you know what? We're swamped. Our next availability is November 18th. I'm going to go, wow, he must be good. Whoa. Yes, please book that. But what if they called me the next day and they said, hey, this never happens, but we actually have an opening at 2:30. I'd be like, oh my God, I'd cancel whatever I'm doing. I'd leave the movie theater, right? I'd have someone else pick up my kid, right? I better get there. Posture, that's attractive. When people are busy, when they're up to things, that's attractive. Now, amateurs will say things like, well, if you're really busy, then how do they think you're going to have time for them? That's not how sales works. That's not how it works. It's not, I want someone who has all the time in the world, because if you have all the time in the world, then I don't think you're up to anything. If we can just have a long conversation about the different types of clouds, then I'm just going to assume you're not up to much. And so it's not about, I got to be available forever for this person. It's way more attracting if you are busy, even if you're not, even if you have nothing on the schedule. If someone didn't respect you enough to watch the video and they say, I couldn't do it. They're expecting you to beat them up. They're expecting you to wag your finger because they think you are of benefit. They're the one that's going to benefit. You already got the solution. They don't have the solution. And so I'm just going to say, cool, no problem. I understand. Hey, listen, I just got to prioritize my time. I got to get back with the people that have watched it. Hope you understand. But tell you what, I can reach out to you next Tuesday. How's that? Now, only 50% of the time, they stop me and say, wait a minute, I can watch it tonight. Can you talk tonight? All of a sudden, it's worth something. They're missing something. It's that whole FOMO, fear of missing out, right? You create that. Now, did the video create it? Video didn't create it. They haven't watched it yet, okay? So that's what I say if they say, no, I haven't watched it, okay? So let's say I call or I message and I say, hey, did you watch the video? And let's go a different scenario, okay? And they say, yeah, I watched it, hated it. What do we do? Oh, no. I just want to let you know, I've recruited hundreds of people that hated the video because I have an advantage. I understand, unlike spamming, where I don't know anything, I have an advantage because I understand their position. They took a position when they said they were open. They took a position when they said, sure, send me the video. They took a position when they actually watched the video. They took a position when they responded to my, have you watched the video? These guys are so close to a sale, but most people would say, oh, not video. They go to the upline and say, upline, I told you it was the video. It's not the video. It's how you handle the video. And so if I message someone or I call someone and I say, hey, did you watch the video? And they're like, yeah, I hated it. I'm going to pour bleach in my eyes. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I hate you for introducing me to that video. I'm going to say, whoa, a little extreme. Okay. Wow. Man, I haven't heard that before, even if I've heard it 99 times before. Okay. Wow. I've never heard that kind of reaction. Geez, did you watch the right video? Like, did it have a little berry on it? Or right? I'm going to verify they watched the right video, and I'm going to make it a little awkward that they were that strong against it. But I'm asking this simple question. Let me just ask you this question. Why'd you watch it? What were you hoping to see? Why would you take time? You could be watching TV. You could be doing dance aerobics. You could be, CrossFit, flipping tires. You could be swimming. You could be doing anything in the world. You chose to watch that video. What were you hoping to see? Now, the magic of that question right there is, in the 10 years of doing it, I never, not one time, had someone answer with something ridiculous. Like I was hoping it would grow my arm back, or I was hoping that I could pour it on my lawn and a gold bar would appear, right? I've never had anybody ever answer that with something that the company, the product, the opportunity couldn't actually accomplish. I've heard people say, well, in the video, there's a bunch of married couples and I'm single. And I'd say, oh my God, we actually have, my friend Helena, she's, single. My friend Tony, he's single. My friend, like I've heard him say, I was hoping I could do this part-time. Oh my goodness, we actually have, I got Hank, who's part-time. I got Steve, who's part-time. I got my man Josh, who's part-time. Kathy's part-time. Susan's part-time. I'm going to use 150 stories explaining that, hey, we have people in exactly that scenario, right? Never. I've heard people say, well, I already take stuff, or I already whatever, right? And so I've never had anyone say something that was so outlandish that I didn't know, what do I do with this? And so just by you asking that question, what were you hoping to gain? What were you hoping to gain? Why did you take the time to watch this, of all the things you could be doing? Now, what if, and so we'll roll with it and see where we go with that. Some will sign up right there. Some will need more information. Maybe I send them to the Essentials. Maybe I send them to something else. Maybe I know that there's some reps that have done voiceovers for, I forget what that name is, but there's another presentation out there that some have done, voiceovers on. Maybe you send them to some other presentation, right? Very possible. What if the golden opportunity, right? What if we follow up and say, hey, did you watch the video? Yes. And they say, what'd you like best about what you saw? See, that's my question. I love that question. What did you like best? Don't ever think, what'd you think? People don't think, right? You're putting way too much pressure on them, right? Don't. What'd you think? What did I think? Well, I think my lunch wasn't that great. I think that tomorrow's going to be busy at work. I think the dog may have peed on the lawn, right? You don't go into what did you think, right? What did you like best about what you saw? What did you like best? And whatever they say is awesome. You do not need to include what you like. See, some people, they'll say, well, what'd you like best about what you saw? And they're biting at the bit to tell them all the things they like, right? And they'll say something that's like, well, I really liked. Okay, this isn't a discussion of what do we like. This is a process. What did you like best about what you saw? Oh, I like that too. Why was that important to you? Why did you like that? So ask clarifying questions. If they're not giving you enough, like if they say something like, well, I like the fact that you can make some extra money. Why is that important to you? See, I want to know that answer. That's a really key answer. And I'll give you a scenario here. So I remember talking to a gentleman, and he actually didn't like the video. And so I sent him the video, followed up. I'm like, hey, what'd you like best about the video? He's like, I hated it. I didn't like it at all. I'm like, ooh, geez, okay. Well, what were you hoping to see? And he said, well, I was hoping that I could find a way to make some extra money. Okay. Again, nothing outlandish, nothing crazy. And so I said, well, why do you need to make some extra money? Like, what would you do with it? He goes, people want extra money. That's not enough of an answer. And so I kept asking. I'm like, well, what? Entertain me. See, he thinks the deal is done. He thinks that we're done here, right? Because he just said, I didn't like the video. He thinks that's a silver bullet, no way we move forward. He's wrong. And so I said, well, amuse me, entertain me. Why do you want more money? I had to ask him that a couple times. And eventually he said, well, and he sighed. Now, I have never not closed someone who sighed. If I hear a sigh, then that means you're being truthful with me. I got you. Because I believe in what I have, and you should believe in what you have. I hear a sigh, you're being honest with me, you're on board. Welcome to the team. And so he's like, well, I got 4 daughters. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know where he's going here. And he said, I got 4 daughters and they're teenagers and I've given them everything they've ever wanted their entire life. And I've spoiled them. I've taken care of them. They're my life. They're everything to me. And I'm just so stressed out because I know that in some kind of time, they're going to start getting married and it's on the bride's family to cover the wedding. And I want them to have their dream wedding. I want them to have the princess wedding. I want them to have the amazing show. And there's just no way I can afford 1, let alone 4. See, now I got honesty. And I asked him this question, and it's kind of admittedly an unfair question. But I said, well, if you didn't do this, how would you come up with the extra money? Now, that's an unfair question. This is like a reverse memory jogger. You know what a memory jogger is? So a memory jogger is like, who do you know? If you just ask someone, who do you know? They'll be like, they don't know anybody. But if you say, who do you know that's a baker, a candlestick maker, waitress, realtor, they'll be able to rattle off people all day long because you narrowed it and got more specific, okay? So this is like the reverse of that. And so if I say, hey, if you don't do this right in front of you, right, you got this, let me use a prop here. You got this thing right in front of you. If you don't do this, how will you come up with the money? And I opened up the entire world of opportunities. It'd be like asking, who do you know? You can't, if he knew that, then he would already be doing it. If he knew that, he'd be like, well, I'll just, take out of my investments right here, right? He doesn't have that. So what I did is I made him see this as his only solution. And he signed up. Hated the video, but I just asked questions. Why'd you watch it? What were you hoping to gain? What were you hoping to see? Why'd you take time out of your busy schedule? And then I learned, well, why is that important? Why do you want to make extra money? What would you do with it? And so that is kind of a brief overview of what we teach. And I know I went a little long here, but I'll roll it back to you, Tim. Maybe there's some questions that people have. But at the end of the day, I just want to leave you with this. And then I got time for some questions. But there are people on their hands and knees every single night praying for someone to come into their life and help them. Yet many network marketers are so concerned about their self-image that they won't ask people. You're either concerned about how you look to others, or you're concerned about making a difference and making an impact. You can't, and I just want to point out, you cannot make it to the thankers without going through the haters. I had plenty of haters. Now I have thankers. You can too. But you got to be willing to face rejection. You got to be willing to look stupid. You got to be willing to ask people that are going to make fun of you or going to tell you that what you're doing is stupid. And I just want to know, I want to let you know, we know that there are people that want to make extra money and need to make extra money. There are 750,000 Uber drivers in the United States. They make an average of $80 to $360 a month. I don't think one of them just says, you know what, I just like driving strangers around. I mean, I just forfeit my check. I just drive people around. Hey, how are you today? Right? Like, no one does that. Everyone, and by the way, you can't be a 6-figure Uber driver. It's not possible. I don't care if you energy drinks all day long. You at some point you got to stop. You got to sleep, right? You can't go and recruit a fleet of college kids and earn a percentage off of what they do in Uber. So you're literally signing up to put strangers in early mornings, late at night. And I'm not bashing Uber, by the way, but we know that there's a lot of people, and just ask yourself, would those people drive an Uber if they were aware that they could sit at home on social media with their family and make $80 to $360 a month? Which do you think they would choose? They would choose being at home with their family. And so let's bring more moms home. Let's bring more dads home. Let's bring more families together. Let's get some more people that are achieving your solutions through your products. And the only way you do that is for you to ask, who's open, and for you to get out there and get into the marketplace.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Wow, Ray. Can you guys show Ray some love? I mean, just the amount of time that he's been able to give to us. I mean, it was only scheduled for 30 minutes, but you went above and beyond. Can you just, can everybody just, if you're watching live right now, just
appreciate it.
and just show them a lot of appreciation. So Ray, I know there's opportunities to connect with you. I have actually one announcement before we get into that, but if you guys are watching this right now and you are planning to go for Silver Director or you currently are Silver Director, we have a high performance summit that's coming up November 14th to the 17th in Cancun. And this is going to be more of an intimate setting with Ray. So Ray is going to be our keynote speaker there. So you can hang out in Mexico with Ray, ask him questions. I know even in the short amount of time, he's brought enormous value. So you can only imagine the type of things that he's going to bring to that retreat. So if you guys are Silver Directors and above, check out the hub that we have in the back office, and then be able to kind of see what the qualification looks like, or call customer service. So Ray, I know, with the time that we have left, maybe we have one or two questions, but
sure.
If people are looking to connect with you more, what are some of the ways that they can connect with you?
Yeah, so we have, just around the corner, we have our biggest event ever coming up in Orlando in October 3rd through 5th. We have our Rank Makers Live. It's our social media super summit. And so that's where we're going to be, teaching people how to best use not just, prospecting, closing, but also marketing, how to get people to reach out to you, how to properly do Facebook Lives that makes people, reach out to you or increases the chances they reach out to you. And so that's at, if you want more information on that, it's at rankmakerslive.com. But that's October 3rd through 5th. That's going to be an amazing, amazing event. We have incredible speakers, and we'd love to see you there. And we have people, we have people coming from like 50 different countries, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, all over. And, so we'd love to see you there if you can. Orlando is a great time Orlando is a great place to be in October. And so it's going to be really, really nice there. We're real excited about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Just knowing you, I know you're going to over deliver for those 3 days. And
it's
on
going to
top
be
of
fun.
that, there's a lot of network opportunities to be able to just kind of see what's out there too.
Yeah.
So is there any questions? I know maybe we can just wrap this up. Maybe we can have one last question if anybody has any, and then we can wrap this up because I know Ray has already given so much value tonight. Is there any questions?
Yeah, we may have missed them because I was kind of in the zone, and if I saw one that I thought needed answered, then I answered it, but I didn't see all of them. Yeah.
So if not, we can just end it tonight. So you can connect with Ray. Ray has a fan page. Always every Friday he has a coaching call Friday. Every Friday.
Coaching Friday. Yep.
Yep, on his fan page. You can connect with him on social media, on Instagram. He always gives an enormous value for free. And then obviously also the Rank Makers Live from October 3rd to the 5th, where I know you're just going to bring, I know you got a lot of people who are big influencers and big, and I guess adds a lot of value in the industry. So with that, appreciate you, Ray. Thank you so much for your time. And with that, everybody, I hope you guys have a good night.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ray.